Hey Penn Staters, it's Susan Robinson here. I'm your 84th president of the Penn State Alumni Association here at the Penn State Alumni Association's annual Alumni Leadership Connections Conference, and I have the pleasure of talking with amazing Penn State alum Bob Buday this morning. Hey Bob, how you doing?
Great to be here.
So you're here today. Not only are you an amazing alum, an amazing member of the Penn State Alumni Association, but today you get honored with a very special award as part of our volunteer awards reception. What was your reaction when you found out that you were being recognized in such an important way?
Well, I was stunned and thrilled. I was stunned because I had won an award from the Collegian AIG group, and I thought, okay, that's great. And then they said, oh, you won another award, Bob. No, I won that award, that Collegian AIG award. No, they said, no, you won another award. And so I was stunned, and then when I found out about the award, I was thrilled.
Amazing. And so you and your colleague, Bill Guthlein, have won the award together, and you're here to receive it on behalf of the both of you. Can you tell our alumni about the project that you worked on and what merited you the award?
Sure. So the Collegian was running into funding issues back in 2023, and the university was going to cut funding of about $500,000 a year over a couple of years down to zero. Now, that is not unusual among the college newspapers that we research. So the Collegian AIG came to us, to Bill and me, and said, can you guys help us? You're business people. You worked at the Collegian 50 years ago, and what can we do to help the Collegian get funding? And is the Collegian unusual among college newspapers? And so we said, well, look, we know how to do what's called best practice research, where you interview and you survey a bunch of organizations, companies, to find out what the best performers are doing differently than the rest or the worst performers, the other end of the spectrum. So the Collegian is an independent nonprofit organization. It's in IRS terms, it's a 501c3. Okay, and so it turns out there are about 50 other 501c3 nonprofit independent college newspapers around the U.S. So we said, well, since it's a nonprofit, they have to file their annual report every year. That information is obtainable for free now on propublica.org. And so we gathered over 7,000 pieces of data over 23 years of, it turns out, 49 nonprofit college newspapers, including the Collegian. And we saw some trends, especially in revenue and advertising revenue and assets and that. So the trend line since the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, the trend line has been like this. That's the way revenue has gone. And advertising revenue, which is a subset of total revenue, has gone down even more steeply, over 70%. So the predicament the Collegian was in was no different than all the other 48 college newspapers, which is revenues going way down. They're relying more and more on their alumni. When I say alumni who used to work on the college newspaper. Those are the ones who are most likely to donate to their college newspaper, the folks who work there. And so they're more and more relying on their alumni to fund them, and on the universities to fund them if the university has decided to do that, whether it's direct funding by the university or student activity fees, but they typically have to be voted in. And so we wanted to look at strategies that the more successful college newspapers had in keeping revenue, above the average. What were they doing that the other college newspapers were not doing? And so that was the report that we put together. It took, I think, 3 months to gather 7,000 plus pieces of data. We also spoke to 21 college news orgs of the 49 and multiple people in some of the 21. So we did Zoom interviews for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours with some of these folks, from the University of Oregon Daily Emerald to the University of Pennsylvania's Daily Pennsylvanian, to Berkeley's Daily Californian, and just hearing how these college news orgs were dealing with the revenue decline was fascinating, and it became instructive for the Collegian folks and the alumni interest group of the Collegian, which is has to be one of the most rabid PSU alumni groups at all. So We delivered our results in the summer of 2024 here at Penn State on a We Are Week, or is directly funded by the university, like the University of Southern California's Daily Collegian. I think we have shown a path to here's how you deal with the current and we think future revenue decline. And so, we're hoping to help the Collegian turn around financially, be less dependent on the university, which means getting more advertising revenue, which means getting more alumni revenue, which means doing other things that could wind up generating revenue. The more revenue that a college news organization gets that's not from the university, the more independent it can be, right? Because it's not dependent on the university for funding. So that's an important thing in journalism, is to not be pressured to not run certain stories or to run other stories. So it was a wonderful project, and I think the impact of it is it's too early to see the impact. But we've heard from the president, the general manager of the Daily Emerald, University of Oregon, who said it was a landmark study in so many words. And so, we think the findings are we hope they're starting to catch on, because college newspapers are the great training ground for professional media. So if college newspapers go away, then it's like, NCAA football goes away, and football players are going from high school to the pros. And that's not a good thing for the universities or for the players, right? So the college newspapers are the great training ground for professional media. So we're here to help the Collegian, go through hopefully a digital renaissance, and every other college newspaper, because it's so important to keep college newspapers alive. I just saw a statistic. The number of journalism jobs in the U.S. has declined something like 70% over the last 40 years. 70%. So there's a lot of local newspapers that are gone, or staffs of, we came from Scranton, where we have relatives. I think that paper had 100 journalists at what time, and now it's down to a dozen. So you just can't cover a local community with many fewer journalists. So we're hoping that this study really catches on at the college level and afterwards. And Penn State's done a number of remarkable things. Marie Harden, who is now going to Quinnipiac, and I gave her a lot of heck for that.
We all did, Bob.
Yes, good. And I'll still give her heck for that. She's now closer to us. We're outside of Massachusetts, outside of Boston. She helped bring in the money that led to the Belisario Center, wonderful multimedia facility, and we think that that is kind of the foundation for what's going to happen in journalism, from what we found in our study, which is multimedia journalism is now going to, go quickly. And if you look at the New York Times online or the Wall Street Journal online, you're seeing video, audio, text, interactive graphics, photographs, etc., all coming together on the same website. So these delineations between, that's radio news and that's TV news and that's newspaper news, that's, we think, beginning to go away. News is going to be delivered by websites, and you'll get the video feed, and you get the audio podcast, and you can stream that, and you get the prose text, and you get the interactive graphics and all that stuff. So I think Penn State could lead the way here. The Belisario Center and Marie Harden's successor could lead the way here in showing college news organizations across the U.S. Here's how to run your college news organization, because you've got to bring together your TV, radio, newspaper students and get them to work together on projects. And they're already starting to do that. So one of our goals, Bill Guthlein, and my goals is for Penn State to become the best practice in college news organizations. That would be a wonderful, wonderful thing to see.